the neighbors across the street from Timothy Milliken hear a gunshot and then another gunshot. They see a car speeding away to the Buck Island gate of this very quiet neighborhood. The blood that is covering and soaking the floor, I think probably one of the worst crime scenes I've ever seen was found by the neighbors of Timothy Milliken.
Four people are charged in connection with the slaying of 45-year-old software engineer Timothy George Milliken on November 16, 2020. The ringleader, 26-year-old Devante White of Green Pond, 22-year-old Malik Dion White of Seabrook, who is not related to Devante, Jamal Hassan Coakley Jr. of Dale, age 22, and Somerville resident Sarah Faye Barr, who has just turned 17. Milliken was not a stranger to two of the people involved in his death. Barr had been sent to the man's home in Westbury Park 2 months earlier for a sexual liaison arranged by Devante White. Milliken thought he was arranging another such meeting for the night of November 16th. However, as the group arrives at Westbury Park side entrance, White has no intention of delivering Barr. Instead, he has planned to use her as bait to rob Milliken. One problem: the side gate is for residents only. Milliken, who lives just inside the gate, will have to come out and let them in, but White realizes his mark might be spooked to see Coakley and Malik White, who he does not know. So they turn around at the gate and drive a short distance away to Old Carolina to regroup. There, Devante hands Coakley a gun and orders him and Malik White into the trunk. Coakley is reluctant, but his best friend Malik White tells him everything will be okay. White then drives back to Westbury's side gate, where they pick up Milliken. He takes them to Westbury's main entrance off US 278, where they can enter a passcode. Once in the man's driveway, White attempts to orchestrate a robbery, but it goes horribly wrong. They are not able to steal anything, but before they leave, Milliken is dead in his home.
Beaver County Sheriff's Office knows that a car has sped away from Tim's home. And so immediately they begin going to the Buck Island gate and the Westbury Park 278 gate and trying to determine if they can have pictures of the vehicle, and lo and behold, they are able to obtain a picture of the license plate on this black Nissan. Once they had gotten the license plate to the black Altima, Beaufort County Sheriff's Department Intelligence Division was able to trace that license plate to EAN Holdings, which is Enterprise Car Rental. Enterprise was able to provide the information that the black Nissan that was seen speeding away from Timothy Milliken's home was in fact rented by Malik White's girlfriend.
Eventually, investigators will collect witness statements and conduct forensic tests that solidify their case. But there's one piece of evidence that proves absolutely critical. Milliken has an extensive surveillance system that monitors both the interior and exterior of his home, likely installed for his protection. Ironically, it provides Beaufort County Sheriff's Office investigators a nearly complete documentation of his demise.
That video was so important, I think. Number one, because it seemed clear that all four defendants had absolutely no idea that they were being taped from many different angles, and that the entire crime was being recorded. And so when it came to understanding exactly what happened to Tim that night and who was there, the video evidence from his home was critical.
Now, 14th Circuit Assistant Solicitor Trasi Campbell walks viewers through this important footage.
As you can see, Tim had several different angles of cameras positioned around his home. So some of the combined surveillance video that the Sheriff's Department put together will actually give us an angle, let's say on his front porch, looking towards the driveway. But as you can see here, this angle is looking from his front porch to the Buck Island gate. And in this particular portion of the combined surveillance video, and I say combined surveillance video because the Sheriff's Department secured basically 24 hours worth of videos and then was able to break all of that down into what was the final trial exhibit that we were able to use at the trial. And so this is where Tim is walking out of his home to meet Devante White and Sarah Barr in the black Altima. And he's going to get in the back seat right here, and he's going to drive around with them to the 278 gate. And why that's significant? Because the Buck Island gate is not equipped with a kiosk to input your passcode. So the only place to input a passcode is the 278 gate. And Tim can do that. The Buck Island gate is equipped with, in a private community like Westbury Park, it would have a clicker, which of course Tim did not have with him. So now they are driving around to the 278 gate, and they come in the gate, and now you can see this angle, which is the angle on Tim's front porch, looking at the driveway. And if I can, I'm just going to pause it right here because I'd like to also add that an additional factor in this combined surveillance video and the video at Tim's home is that it actually had sound. The front of the home was equipped with sound surveillance as well, not the back of the home. So we actually get to hear what they are saying to Tim when they take hold of him in the driveway. So now they are pulling into the driveway, and let me just make absolutely clear that at this point, Devante White has put Jamal Coakley and Malik White in the trunk of that car and given them the revolver. And given them the instructions what they are to do when he pops the trunk. And so here they are getting out of the black Nissan, and they are popping the trunk and walking around to the trunk. And right then is when they jump out. Jamal has the gun. Malik jumps out. Devante grabs Tim from behind, seizing him, holding on to him tightly, making sure that he cannot get away from them, and telling Tim that he is under arrest. And, of course, Tim is shocked, and you can hear it in his voice when he says, "For what?" And then Devante says, "Prostitution." And, of course, at that point, that is when he moves him down the driveway to the back of the home, out of the view of anyone in the neighborhood. And again, this is all taking place about 7 minutes after 11 o'clock that night. In this portion of the combined surveillance video, you can see Tim struggling down the driveway, being held by Devante, and you can see Jamal Coakley holding that revolver on Tim. And then, of course, he's followed up by Sarah Barr walking down the driveway, and then Malik White follows up as the last person. Then the surveillance video moves angles. We are able to then see the camera angle that shows us them walking down Tim's driveway, but instead of seeing them coming towards us, we see them walking towards the back. And this angle gives us a particularly good view of the section where Sarah Barr is assisting Devante White in the kidnapping of Tim when Devante White drops some of the zip ties that he has brought with him to tie Tim up. She picks them up and hands them back to Devante White so that he can continue trying to tie Tim up and force Tim to open that back door. Okay, so the next section of the combined surveillance video is a very clear view of Tim's back porch. The camera angle shows us Devante White, Jamal Coakley, and Malik White all right there up on Tim at the back door where Devante is trying to get the zip ties on Tim's wrists. Devante is instructing Tim to open the back door. Now, while we cannot hear this from Tim's surveillance video, the testimony at trial was very clear from Malik White and Jamal Coakley and Sarah Barr. They all consistently gave their testimony that Devante White threatened to kill Tim's family, in particular his children, if he did not open the back door. So while Devante and Jamal and Malik are all standing on the back porch of Tim's home, there is a disagreement. Devante tells Jamal, hit him, which Jamal took to mean shoot him, and Jamal refused. At that point, Devante demands the gun. Malik reaches over, takes the gun from Jamal, and hands it to Devante, who then hits Tim in the head and discharges the gun. And after struggling here, as you can see in the video, for several minutes, trying to keep all four of these persons out of his home, he does finally open the back door. But you know, he doesn't even open the back door after Devante strikes him up beside the head and shoots the gun off. It's when he threatens to kill Tim's children that Tim takes the keys out of his pocket and puts them in the back door and begins to let them in. And we then see another angle. Because within the home, Tim has a surveillance camera in the laundry room up in the corner facing the door. So now we are seeing all that action that's taking place on the back porch, the struggling, Tim fighting back with everything that he's got. And the only thing he's got is his physical resistance, because they're the ones who are armed with a handgun, the revolver, on him. They've fired the gun. Devante's hit him upside the head with it. And Tim is struggling as best he can to keep them away from his home. And as you can see in this section of the video, his dog, Millie, is right inside the back door. Her bed is right there by the washing machine. And in this section, Tim has finally opened the back door and he makes one last stand in that threshold, protecting himself and his home from Devante White and his crew. And he takes that stand, and then Devante White takes his life. Because Devante is so angry and fed up at this point that all his grand plans to get inside Tim's home, take whatever he wanted, and leave undetected have all failed miserably. And then Tim dies right there with his dog Millie by his side. This is an extremely emotionally terrifying video to watch, because you actually see Tim pass away, and it's something that we decided was not going, that portion was not going to be played during the trial. It's way too emotional, so we stopped it. But it was admitted into evidence, along with all the other portions of the combined surveillance video. When Devante White shoots and kills Tim, he doesn't just immediately run away. He actually draws down on Tim one more time as Tim is falling down and essentially dying from bleeding out. It seems clear that they couldn't outrun law enforcement's hot on their trail. But most importantly, perhaps what they couldn't outrun was the surveillance video that captured every single thing they did that night when they killed Tim.
In December 2022, Devante White is tried for murder, kidnapping, and possession of a weapon during commission of a violent crime. Malik White, Barr, and Coakley plead guilty to attempted armed robbery and testify against Devante White. On December 16, 2022, a Beaufort County General Sessions Court jury finds Devante White guilty of all charges. Circuit Court Judge Brooks P. Goldsmith sentences him to 40 years in prison. Trasi Campbell is a member of the 14th Circuit Solicitor's Office Career Criminal Unit, which prosecutes the circuit's most violent and habitual offenders. This elite team has earned convictions against 431 of the 466 defendants it has prosecuted since its formation in 2009.